The massive alien ship dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light. Commander Kithmore stretched his forearms and looked at the star system ahead. After traveling for months, they had finally returned to the small yellow star they had visited long ago. Status report, Kithmore said to his crew. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. Navigator Veltash checked his instruments with his many tentacles dancing across the controls. We are at the edge of the Sol system, Commander. All systems are working perfectly. Kithmore nodded. It had been exactly 500,000 Earth years since the Vorthak Empire had last visited this tiny corner of the galaxy. Back then, they had found a small blue and green planet with some interesting creatures. The creatures were barely more than smart animals. They used simple stone tools and lived in small groups. The Vorthak scientists had noted them in their files and moved on. There were billions of other worlds to explore. Bring up the old records, Kithmore ordered. The main screen showed images from 500,000 years ago. Primitive ape-like creatures with almost no fur gathered around fires. They had made basic tools from rocks and sticks. Some of them had learned to control fire. It was impressive for animals, but nothing special compared to other worlds the Vorthak had found. Species classification, early tool users, read Science Officer Zixnall from the old files. Brain development shows potential but limited. Estimated. Time to space travel. 50 to 100 million years if they survive. Kithmore remembered those creatures. They were so weak and small. Their technology was laughable. Most species like that killed themselves off within a few thousand years. Wars, disease, or climate change usually finished them. The few that survived took millions of years to develop real technology. Let's see what happened to them. Kithmore said, I bet we'll find an empty world or maybe some early farming villages. Veltash started the deep system scan. The results would tell them everything about the third planet. He expected to find either nothing at all or perhaps some basic civilization. Maybe the creatures had learned to make metal tools or build simple cities. But something was wrong. The scanner started beeping loudly. Veltash's eyes went wide with shock. Commander, he said in a shaking voice, the scanner is showing impossible readings. What do you mean impossible? Kithmore moved closer to look at the screen. The third planet. It's covered in artificial structures, massive ones. And there are objects moving between the planets. Fast-moving objects. Kithmore felt his blood run cold. That could not be right. Run the scan again. Your equipment must be broken. Veltash ran the scan 3 more times. Each time the results were the same. The small blue planet was covered with lights arranged in perfect patterns. Straight lines and geometric shapes stretched across entire continents. The night side of the planet glowed like a star. Commander, Zixnall called out from his station. I'm detecting radio signals, organized patterns. This looks like communication. The bridge fell silent. Every crew member stared at their instruments in disbelief. This was not possible. The primitive apes could not have developed this far. It had only been 500,000 years. That was nothing in galactic terms. Show me the radio signals, Kithmore ordered. The speakers filled with strange sounds. Voices speaking in different languages. Music. Something that sounded like news broadcasts. The voices were quick and energetic. Nothing like the slow, careful speech of most intelligent species. How many different languages are they using? Kithmore asked. Zixnall worked at his computer for several minutes. I count over 6,000 distinct languages, Commander, and they seem to be connected by some kind of global communication network. Kithmore felt sick. Most species had 1 or maybe 2 languages when they reached space travel. Having thousands of languages meant the creatures had spread across their entire planet and developed complex societies. That should have taken millions of years. What about those moving objects between the planets? He asked. Vel. Tash pulled up tracking data. They appear to be artificial spacecraft, Commander. Some are as large as our ship. They're moving at speeds that should be impossible for such a young species. That's not the worst part, Zixnall added quietly. I'm detecting structures on other planets in this system too. The 4th planet has permanent bases. The small planets closer to the star have mining operations. They've colonized their entire star system. Kithmore sat down heavily in his command chair. His mind could not process what he was hearing. The Vorthak Empire was millions of years old. They had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. It had taken them 50 million years to develop space travel. These creatures had done it in 500,000 years. Commander, Communications Officer Dexwan spoke up nervously. I'm getting something else. There are radio signals coming from outside this star system. Way outside. It looks like they have some kind of communication network that reaches other stars. Other stars? Kithmore stood up quickly. Are you telling me they've spread to other star systems already? It appears so, sir. I'm detecting their signals from at least 12 different star systems within 100 light years of here. Kithmore began pacing around the bridge. This was a disaster. The Vorthak Empire had strict rules about primitive species. They were supposed to develop slowly and naturally. When they finally reached space travel, the Vorthak would contact them and guide them into the galactic community. It was a process that took millions of years, but these creatures had developed faster than anyone thought possible. They had spread across multiple star systems without any guidance. They were completely unknown and uncontrolled. Sir, Veltash said quietly. What should we do? Kithmore looked at the image of the bright blue planet on the screen. Somewhere, down there were billions of creatures that had once been simple animals. Now they had technology that rivaled the greatest civilizations in the galaxy. Send a message to High Command, he ordered. Tell them we have a Code 7 situation. The crew gasped. Code 7 meant a species had developed beyond all predictions. It was the highest level of concern in Vorthak protocol. It meant the natural order of the galaxy might be in danger. Should we make contact with them, Commander? Dexwan asked. Kith More thought carefully. These creatures were clearly not the primitive animals they once were, but they were still young. They might be dangerous, but they were probably not as advanced as the Vorthak Empire. A careful approach might work. Prepare for limited contact, he decided. We'll approach slowly and see what we're dealing with, but keep all weapons ready. We don't know what these creatures are capable of. As the alien ship moved toward Earth, none of the Vorthak crew could imagine what they were about to discover. The horror was just beginning. Deep beneath the mountains of South Korea, alarms started ringing in the Space Defense Command Center. Admiral Donghyun looked up from his morning reports as red lights flashed across every screen in the room. What's happening? He asked, walking quickly to the main control station. Sir, we have an unknown object entering the outer solar system, reported Lieutenant Minji from her position at the sensor array. It's massive, roughly 3 kilometers long and definitely not human-made. Admiral Donghyun felt his heart skip a beat. After decades of searching the stars and finding nothing, first contact was finally happening. Are you certain it's artificial? Absolutely, sir. The object shows clear geometric patterns and is emitting organized radio signals. This is definitely an alien spacecraft. Within minutes, the command center filled with activity. Scientists, military officers, and government officials rushed to their stations. Dr. Minji, the chief astrophysicist, began running detailed scans of the alien vessel, while Captain Taiho prepared the Earth defense ship New Sol for possible deployment. The ship appears to be slowing down, Dr. Minji reported. It's taking a position just outside Pluto's orbit. They're not approaching aggressively. Admiral Donghyun nodded. That's good. They might want to talk. He turned to his communications. Officer, get me President Dayun on secure line and contact the UN First Contact Committee. Captain Taiho stepped forward. Sir, should I take the New Sol out to meet them? Not yet, Captain. Let's see what they want first. Linguist Huna was already working at her computer, trying to decode the alien radio signals. Admiral, I'm picking up patterns in their transmissions. It looks like they're scanning our entire solar system. Scanning for what? Everything, sir. They're doing deep analysis of Earth, Mars, our space stations, even our mining operations on the asteroids. This is very thorough work. Meanwhile, aboard the Vorthak ship, Commander Kithmore was getting increasingly worried reports from his crew. "Commander," Science Officer Zixnall said nervously, "the scanning results are very strange. These creatures have technology we don't understand." "What do you mean?" "Their spacecraft use power sources I can't identify. Their communication systems are faster and more efficient than ours, and their planetary defenses." Zixnall paused. "Commander, I think their planetary defenses might be more advanced than our ship's weapons." Commander Kithmore felt cold fear in his stomach. "That's impossible. We have the most advanced weapons in the galaxy." "I hope I'm wrong, sir, but their energy readings are very high." Back on Earth, the First Contact Committee had made their decision. Captain Taiho would lead a small diplomatic mission to meet the aliens. His ship would carry linguist Hyuna to help with communication and military advisor Jinwoo in case things went wrong. "Remember," Admiral Donghyun told Captain Taiho before he left, "we want to be friendly but careful. We don't know what these aliens want or what they're capable of." The new Soul was a beautiful ship. It used the latest human technology, including faster-than-light engines that humanity had developed just 20 years earlier. As it approached the alien vessel, Captain Taiho couldn't help feeling proud of how far humanity had come. "Captain," Hyuna said from her station, "I'm getting a communication from the alien ship. They're trying to establish contact." "Put it through." The main screen showed a strange creature with 4 arms and gray skin. It spoke in a deep, rough voice, but Hyuna's translation system was already working on the language. "Greetings," the alien said. "I am Commander Kithmore of the Vorthak Empire. We have come to make contact with the inhabitants of this world." Captain Taiho smiled. "Welcome to our solar system, Commander Kithmore. I am Captain Taiho of Earth. We're honored to meet you." Commander Kithmore seemed surprised by how quickly the humans had learned to communicate. "You adapted to our language very fast. Our computer systems are pretty good at pattern recognition," Captain Taiho said casually. "Would you like to meet in person? We could dock our ships together." On the Vorthak bridge, the crew looked worried. The humans had decoded their language in minutes. That should have taken days or weeks. "Very well," Commander Kithmore agreed. "We will prepare a docking port." An hour later, the 2 ships were connected. Captain Taiho, Hyuna, and Jinwoo walked through the airlock into the alien ship. The Vorthak had prepared a meeting room with the right atmosphere for humans to breathe. Commander Kithmore and 2 of his officers were waiting. They looked nervous, which surprised Captain Taiho. Why would such an advanced species be nervous about meeting humans? "Please sit down," Commander Kithmore said. "We have many questions about your species." "We have questions too," Captain Taiho replied. "How long have you been traveling in space? This is our first contact with aliens." "We have been a space-traveling species for over 10 million years," Commander Kithmore said proudly. Hyuna looked impressed. "That's amazing. You must have seen so many different worlds and species." "Yes, we have cataloged thousands of intelligent species across the galaxy." Commander Kithmore paused. "In fact, we visited your world before, about 500,000 of your years ago." Captain Taiho raised his eyebrows. "Really? What did you find? Your species was very primitive then. You were just learning to use simple tools." Jinwoo laughed. "Well, we've learned a few things since then." "Yes," Commander Kithmore said slowly. "How exactly did you develop so quickly? Most species take tens of millions of years to reach space travel." Engineer Sunhee's voice came through Captain Taiho's communicator. "Captain, the alien ship's technology is interesting. Their faster-than-light drive is pretty basic, though. We could probably improve it by about 300% with some simple modifications." Captain Taiho nodded. "Sunhee, my ship's engineer, says your FTL drive could be improved. Would you be interested in sharing technology?" The Vorthak officers looked at each other with wide eyes. These humans were offering to improve technology that had taken the Vorthak millions of years to develop. "You think you can improve our engines?" Science Officer Zixnall asked carefully. "Sure," Captain Taiho said. "Our engineers love solving problems like that. We've been working on FTL technology for about 50 years now." We've gotten pretty good at it. Commander Kithmore felt dizzy. 50 years. The Vorthak had worked on FTL technology for millions of years. How many star systems has your species colonized? Commander Kithmore asked. About 47 so far, Jinwoo replied. We're planning to expand to 100 systems within the next decade. The meeting room fell silent. The Vorthak Empire, with all its millions of years of development, controlled only 12 star systems. These humans had colonized 47 systems in what must have been just a few decades. Commander, Huna said politely, would you like to visit Earth? We could show you our cities and technology. Commander Kithmore nodded weakly. Yes, that would be educational. As the meeting ended and the humans returned to their ship, Science Officer Zixnall whispered to his commander, Sir, I don't think these are primitive creatures anymore. No, Commander Kithmore replied, watching the human ship through the window. I'm beginning to think we made a terrible mistake coming here. Dr. Minji walked through the research lab aboard the human space station Harmony, with excitement in her steps. For the past week, she and her team had been studying Vorthak technology as part of the new cultural exchange program. What they had found was both amazing and troubling. Wonho, show me the FTL drive analysis again, she said to the quantum physicist working at the main computer terminal. Dr. Wonho pulled up the detailed scans of the alien faster-than-light engine. It's incredible, Minji. Their technology works, but it's so inefficient. Look at these power consumption readings. Dr. Minji studied the data. The Vorthak FTL drive used almost 10 times more energy than human engines to achieve the same speed. How is that possible? They've had millions of years to improve this. That's what's strange, said Dr. Yunji, the team's xenobiologist. I've been studying their biological data too. These aliens live for thousands of years, but they think very slowly. What takes us months to figure out takes them decades. Dr. Wonho nodded. I think that's the key. They're not stupid, but they're incredibly conservative. They make tiny improvements over thousands of years instead of big leaps. While we make big improvements every few years, Dr. Minji said thoughtfully. The door to the lab opened, and Commander Kithmore entered with Science Officer Zixnall. The two aliens had been visiting human facilities for several days, and they looked increasingly worried with each new discovery. Dr. Minji, Commander Kithmore said politely, how is your study of our technology progressing? Very well, thank you. We've learned a lot. Dr. Minji smiled. In fact, we've identified several ways to improve your systems. Science Officer Zixnall stepped forward eagerly. Really? What kind of improvements? Dr. Wonho turned his computer screen toward the aliens. Well, your FTL drive could be much more efficient. See these power coupling systems? If you reroute them through a quantum buffer array, you could reduce energy consumption by 70% and increase speed by 200%. Both aliens stared at the screen in shock. Commander Kithmore's voice was barely a whisper. You figured this out in 1 week? Actually, it only took us 2 days, Dr. Wonho said cheerfully. The rest of the time we've been working on other improvements. Dr. Yunji joined the conversation. We've also been looking at your biological data. Your species could live much longer with some genetic improvements, maybe 50,000 years instead of 5,000. You want to change our genetics? Science Officer Zixnall asked nervously. Only if you want us to, Dr. Yunji said. We've been using genetic engineering on ourselves for about a century now. It's pretty safe. Commander Kithmore felt weak. These humans talked about changing the fundamental biology of his species like it was a simple weekend project. You've been modifying your own genetics for 100 years? Oh yes, Dr. Minji said. We've eliminated most diseases, doubled our natural lifespan, and improved our intelligence significantly. It's one reason we develop technology so quickly now. The two aliens looked at each other in horror. Not only were these humans naturally faster at developing technology, but they had also improved themselves to be even faster. Meanwhile, in another part of the space station, Admiral Dong Hyun was meeting with his intelligence team. Analyst Su Yung had spent the week studying data about the Vorthak Empire and other alien civilizations. "What have you learned about our new friends?" Admiral Donghyun asked. Strategic Advisor Minho pulled up a star map showing the locations of various alien civilizations. "Sir, the Vorthak Empire controls 12 star systems. They're one of the major powers in this part of the galaxy. What about the other major powers?" "There are 6 other major civilizations within 500 light years of Earth," Su Yung reported. "The oldest is the Keldan Republic, which has existed for 80 million years. They control 15 star systems." Admiral Donghyun studied the map carefully. "So the most powerful civilization in our area of the galaxy controls 15 star systems, and they've had 80 million years to build that empire." "That's correct, sir. And we've colonized 47 star systems in less than a century." "Yes, sir." Admiral Donghyun sat back in his chair. The implications were staggering. If humanity continued expanding at their current rate, they would control more territory than any alien civilization within a few decades. "Minho, what's our current military strength compared to these alien empires?" "That's difficult to assess, sir, but based on the technology we've seen from the Vorthak, our weapons and defenses appear to be more advanced than anything they have." Back in the research lab, Dr. Minji was showing Commander Kithmore some of humanity's recent technological achievements. She pulled up images of the new human colonies. "This is our newest settlement," she said proudly. "We built the entire city in 6 months on a planet 200 light-years from Earth." Science Officer Zixnall looked at the images of gleaming towers and advanced infrastructure. 6 months? It takes us 50 years to build a simple research station." "Well, we use a lot of automation," Dr. Wanho explained. "Our construction robots can build almost anything very quickly." "You have robots that can build cities?" "Sure. We've had those for about 20 years now." Commander Kithmore excused himself and went to a quiet corner to send a secure message to the Vorthak High Command. His report was urgent and frightening. "Hi. Command, this is Commander Kithmore reporting on the human situation. The species we classified as primitive 500,000 years ago has become the most technologically advanced civilization I have ever encountered. They have surpassed us in every area of science and engineering. They are expanding across the galaxy at an incredible rate. I believe they represent a potential threat to the established galactic order." The response came back within hours. Fleet. Admiral Korvthek would arrive within 1 week with the combined battle fleets of 12 star systems. The Vorthak Empire was taking the human threat seriously. But Commander Kithmore was beginning to suspect it might be too late for threats. As he watched Dr. Minji and her team casually discuss improvements to technologies that had taken his people millions of years to develop, he realized something terrifying. The humans didn't just have better technology. They had better minds. They thought faster, learned faster, and improved faster than any species he had ever encountered. Every day they spent in contact with the Vorthak Empire, they were learning more about galactic civilization and becoming more dangerous. That evening, Commander Kithmore stood in the observation deck of the human space station, looking out at Earth. The planet glowed with billions of lights arranged in perfect geometric patterns. Massive orbital structures surrounded it like jewelry. Ships came and went constantly, carrying goods and people to the 47 human colonies. Science Officer Zixnall joined him at the window. "Commander, what are we going to do?" "I don't know," Commander Kithmore replied quietly. "For the first time in my life, I truly don't know." What he did know was that the galactic balance of power was about to change forever. The question was whether the older civilizations would accept that change peacefully, or whether they would try to stop it. Either way, Commander Kithmore suspected that the age of the Vorthak Empire was coming to an end. The space around Jupiter filled with flashes of blue light as ship after ship dropped out of hyperspace. Fleet Admiral Korvthek of the Vorthak Empire had arrived with the largest battle fleet in galactic history. 1,200 warships from across the Vorthak Empire floated in perfect formation, their weapons charged and ready. "All ships report ready for combat," reported his tactical officer. "We have overwhelming firepower, Fleet Admiral. These humans won't stand a chance." Fleet Admiral Korftek nodded confidently. He had brought enough ships to destroy entire star systems. The human problem would be solved today. Send a message to Earth. Tell them to prepare for immediate surrender or their planet will be destroyed. But before the message could be sent, new contacts appeared on their sensors. Human ships were approaching from all directions, not just a few ships, but hundreds of them. Where did they come from? Demanded Fleet Admiral Korftek. Sir, they seem to have appeared out of nowhere. Our sensors didn't detect them until they were right on top of us. Captain Jihoon of the Earth Defense Fleet stood on the bridge of his flagship Soul's Pride. Around him, the human fleet took defensive positions. His ships were smaller than the alien vessels, but they moved with precision and speed that made the Vorthak formation look clumsy. Open communications with the alien fleet, Captain Jihoon ordered. Fleet Admiral Korftek's face appeared on the main screen. He was an impressive sight with his forearms and battle scars, but Captain Jihoon wasn't intimidated. I am Fleet Admiral Korftek of the Vorthak Empire, the alien announced. You will surrender immediately and submit to Galactic Authority, or your species will be destroyed. Captain Jihoon smiled politely. I'm Captain Jihoon of the Earth Defense Fleet. I'm afraid I'll have to decline your offer. Earth doesn't surrender to anyone. You are outnumbered 10-1, Fleet Admiral Korftek snarled. Your small fleet cannot stand against the combined might of 12 star systems. Would you like to test that theory? Captain Jihoon asked, calmly. On the bridge of the Vorthak flagship, the tactical officer whispered urgently to Fleet Admiral Korftek. Sir, I'm getting strange readings from the human ships. Their energy signatures are off the charts. What do you mean? Their power levels are higher than anything I've ever seen, and their weapons. I can't identify what type they are. Fleet Admiral Korftek ignored his officer's concerns. These humans were just primitives with stolen technology. All ships, open fire. 1,200 Vorthak warships fired their weapons at once. Massive energy beams and plasma bolts filled space, heading toward the human fleet. It should have been the end of the battle before it began. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships didn't even try to dodge. The alien weapons simply passed through them without causing any damage at all. What just happened? Fleet Admiral Korftek shouted. Sir, their ships seem to be phasing in and out of normal space. Our weapons can't hit them. Captain Jihoon's voice came over the communications channel. That was your free shot. Now it's our turn. The human ships moved like nothing the Vorthak had ever seen. They flowed through space like liquid, weaving between the alien vessels with impossible grace. When they fired their weapons, streams of silver energy reached out and touched the Vorthak ship's dot. Instead of explosions, something much worse happened. The alien ships simply stopped working. Their engines went dead, their weapons powered down, and their life support systems switched to emergency backup. Within minutes, 1,200 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy were floating helplessly in space. Status report, Fleet Admiral Korftek demanded. Sir, all our systems are offline. The human weapons didn't destroy our ships, they disabled them. It's like they turned our own technology against us. How is that possible? His science officer looked up from his instruments with terror in his eyes. Sir, I think they're using some kind of quantum virus. It's spreading through our computer systems and shutting everything down. On Earth, Admiral Dongyun watched the battle from the command center with satisfaction. The entire engagement had lasted less than 5 minutes. All enemy ships disabled, reported Captain Jihoon. No casualties on either side. Excellent work, Captain. Bring their Fleet Admiral to the space station for a conversation. An hour later, Fleet Admiral Korftek sat in a conference room aboard the human space station Harmony. He was not restrained, but he knew he was completely powerless. His entire fleet was floating dead in space, and the humans could destroy them whenever they wanted. Admiral Dongyun entered the room with several other human officers. Fleet Admiral Korftek, welcome to our space station. I hope you're comfortable. How did you do it? Fleet Admiral Korftek asked quietly. How did you disable our entire fleet so easily? Scientist Yuna stepped forward. She was young and cheerful, which somehow made her words more frightening. "Oh, that's pretty simple. We've been studying galactic technology for decades. We know how all your systems work." "Impossible. You've only had contact with us for 2 weeks. "We've had contact with your empire for 2 weeks, Security Chief Sungmin corrected. "We've been studying galactic civilization for much longer." He activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of hundreds of alien civilizations. "We discovered the galactic community about 50 years ago through our deep space monitoring stations. We've been quietly observing and learning ever since." Fleet Admiral Korvtek stared at the display in horror. Every major civilization in the galaxy was marked and labeled. Their technology levels, military strength, and political systems were all documented in detail. "You've been watching us for 50 years. "Watching and learning," Admiral Dongyun confirmed. "Your species aren't the only ones who can be quiet observers. The difference is, we actually learned something useful from our observations." Dr. Yuna pulled up technical diagrams of Vorthak technology. "Every ship design, every weapon system, every computer network your empire uses. We know all of it. We've studied it, analyzed it, and figured out how to beat it." "But how did you learn so much so quickly?" "Because we're not like you," Security Chief Sungmin said simply. "Your species thinks in terms of millions of years. You make small, careful changes over vast periods of time. We think in terms of years or decades. We make big changes quickly." Fleet Admiral Korvtek realized the horrible truth. While the Vorthak Empire had spent 50 years doing essentially nothing, humanity had spent that same time preparing for this exact moment. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Nothing," Admiral Donghyun replied. "We don't want to conquer your empire or destroy your species. We just want you to understand the new reality. Which is, humanity is no longer the primitive species you cataloged 500,000 years ago. We're now the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. The old galactic order is over." Dr. Yuna smiled cheerfully. "Don't worry, we're not going to hurt anyone. We just want everyone to acknowledge that things have changed." Fleet Admiral Korvtek looked around the room at the human faces. They were so young, so confident, so terrifyingly competent. His empire had ruled its part of the galaxy for millions of years. Now these creatures had made it obsolete in a single afternoon. "My government will never accept human dominance," he said weakly. "They don't have to accept it," Security Chief Sungmin replied. "But they will have to live with it, just like every other civilization in the galaxy." Admiral Dongyun stood up. "Your fleet will be repaired and returned to you. Consider this a demonstration, not an act of war. Go home and tell your leaders what you've seen here." As Fleet Admiral Korvtek was escorted back to his ship, he tried to process what had happened. In one day, everything he thought he knew about the galaxy had been proven wrong. The humans weren't just another species to be managed and controlled. They were the new masters of the galaxy, and everyone else would have to adjust. The most terrifying part was how easy they had made it look. 6 months after the incident at Jupiter, representatives from 12 different alien civilizations sat in the Grand Assembly Hall of the human space station Harmony. The massive room was designed to accommodate dozens of different species, with varying atmospheric requirements and seating arrangements. But today, all eyes were focused on the podium, where President Dahyun of the United Earth government was about to speak. Fleet Admiral Korvtek sat with the Vorthak delegation, still trying to understand how his mighty empire had become irrelevant so quickly. Beside him sat representatives of the Keldan Republic, the Zephyrian Collective, and 9 other civilizations that had once considered themselves the masters of the galaxy. "Friends," President Dahyun began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems, "we gather today not as conquerors and conquered, but as neighbors in a shared galaxy. Humanity extends an invitation to join the new Galactic Confederation, with Earth as the coordinating center." Ambassador Thekstar of the Keldan Republic raised one of his 6 arms. "President Dahyun, with respect, the Keldan Republic has existed for 80 million years. Why should we accept the leadership of a species that achieved space travel yesterday?" President Dahyun smiled patiently. Because, Ambassador Thexidar, age is not the same as capability. Your republic is ancient and respected, but it has not grown or changed in millions of years. Meanwhile, humanity has colonized 127 star systems in the past 6 months. The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone in the room knew the numbers. Human expansion was accelerating at a rate that defied all galactic precedent. Admiral Dongyun stepped forward to support the president. This is not about conquest or domination. This is about survival and progress. The galaxy faces challenges that require new thinking and rapid adaptation. Humanity offers to share our technological advances with all member species of the Confederation. Dr. Minji activated a holographic display showing various human innovations. We've developed cures for genetic diseases that have plagued your species for millions of years. We've created faster-than-light communication networks that can connect every world in the galaxy instantly. We've built machines that can terraform dead planets in decades instead of millennia. The alien representatives looked at the displays with a mixture of awe and fear. Everything the humans claimed was supported by hard data and working examples. Former science officer Zixnal, who had chosen to work with the humans and taken the name Kiwan, spoke from the human delegation area. I have seen humanity's capabilities firsthand. They don't seek to replace us, but to help us become better than we are. Commander Kithmore, now serving as a cultural liaison and using the name Nari, nodded in agreement. The Vorthak Empire spent millions of years perfecting our technology. Humanity improved it in weeks. This is not about superiority. It's about different approaches to problem solving. President Dayun continued her presentation. The Confederation will be voluntary. Any species that wishes to remain independent may do so, but those who join will have access to human technology, protection under human military umbrella, and representation in galactic governance. And what if we refuse? Asked General Vexmore of the warrior caste of Dracon. Security Chief Sungmin answered calmly. Then you continue as you are. Humanity will not force anyone to join us, but we will continue to expand and develop whether you participate or not. The unspoken message was clear. Join the Confederation and benefit from human advancement, or be left behind as the galaxy moved forward without them. Dr. Yuna presented the next phase of the human plan. We're also announcing the Deep Space Exploration Initiative. Human ships will begin exploring beyond this galaxy within the next year. We're looking for new worlds, new resources, and potentially new forms of life. Fleet Admiral Korvthek felt his heart sink. These humans weren't content with ruling one galaxy. They were already planning to expand beyond it. Ambassador Thexdar requested a private consultation with his delegation. Within an hour, he returned with their answer. The Keldan Republic accepts membership in the Galactic Confederation. One by one, the other delegations made the same decision. Even General Vexmore, representing the proudest warrior culture in the galaxy, eventually agreed to join. Later that evening, Commander Kithmore sat in his quarters writing his final report to the Vorthak Historical Archives. It would be the last official document of the Vorthak Empire as an independent power. The age of the old galactic order has ended, he wrote. For 500,000 years, we believed we were watching the slow development of a primitive species. Instead, we were witnessing the rise of our successors. The horror we felt upon returning to Earth was not just fear of human capabilities, but recognition of our own obsolescence. He paused in his writing and looked out the window at Earth below. The planet glowed with energy and activity. Ships arrived and departed constantly, carrying human colonists to new worlds. The lights of the cities formed patterns that could be seen from space, a testament to human organizational ability. Humanity represents something new in galactic history, he continued. They are not just another intelligent species competing for resources and territory. They are the next phase of galactic evolution, where we took millions of years to develop incrementally. They achieved revolutionary breakthroughs in decades. In another part of the station, engineer Sunhee was working with her team on the latest human project. Former Vorthak scientist Jin Su and ex-Keldon researcher Chaeyoung had joined her engineering group, along with experts from several other species. The new faster-than-light drive is working perfectly, Sunhee reported to Admiral Donghyun. We can now travel between galaxies in weeks instead of years. Excellent. How many colony ships are ready for the first intergalactic expedition? 50 ships, each carrying 10,000 colonists and full terraforming equipment. We'll establish humanity's first foothold in the Andromeda Galaxy within 6 months. Admiral Donghyun smiled. And our alien partners? 12 species have requested to join the expedition. They want to be part of humanity's expansion into new territories. Back in his quarters, Commander Kithmore finished his report. The greatest horror we discovered was not that humanity had surpassed us, but that this was always inevitable. We spent millions of years in comfortable stagnation while they spent thousands of years in constant growth and change. They did not conquer us through force or deception. They simply became better than us at everything that mattered. Better technology, better organization, better adaptation to change. We had the misfortune of existing during their rise from primitives to galactic masters. But perhaps this is not truly a horror. Perhaps it is simply the natural order of things. Species that grow and adapt survive and prosper. Species that remain static eventually fade away. Humanity represents the future of intelligence in the universe. Our role now is to learn from them and try to keep up. The Vorthak Empire is ended, but the Vorthak people will continue as part of something larger and more wonderful than we ever imagined possible. Commander Kithmore sealed his report and sent it to the archives. Then he opened a new document and began writing again. This time he was writing a proposal for Vorthak participation in the Andromeda expedition. The age of human dominance had begun, and everyone in the galaxy would have to find their place in the new order. For Commander Kithmore, that place was alongside the species that had grown from primitive apes to masters of the galaxy, in what seemed like the blink of an eye. Outside his window, the first ships of the intergalactic fleet were already preparing for departure. Humanity's expansion would not stop with one galaxy, and Commander Kithmore found himself excited to see what they would achieve next. The horror had become hope. The future belonged to humanity, and everyone else would just have to keep up.